Welcome to the week in culture. Welcome to the week in culture. Welcome to the week in culture. We push back, push back.
Just playing around with it. All right, hello everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Arcade. My name is Brian. I'm here with John, the problematic white guy, and this is the Week in Culture, where we discuss the news of the week, or the cultural news of the week, and try to give it a little bit, let's say, a more respectful treatment. Dig a little deeper, you know, explore what's actually going on, what's under the hood, how's it cooking, all that kind of stuff. So, John, how you doing, man? I haven't talked to you in a while.
Oh, awesome as always. Just working on the same old stuff as usual. Keeping busy with side projects and trying to, make sure I can afford groceries. So, no complaints. Just been what it's been. So, pretty standard.
All right.
How's everything for you?
Good. I mean, everything here is relatively stable. I do have some new things coming up that I'm going to be involved in. So there's a documentary that I'm might be flying out to New Jersey to participate in. It has to do with basically like men's issues, but it's kind of a big deal. It's going to be like a big thing. So I might be going out there for that this summer.
Cool.
Today, later on tonight, I'm going to be appearing on Andy Pants Gaming's channel. So I don't know if you guys know, Andy Pants Gaming basically started making kind of like videos where he was criticizing the state of the industry. And he's got a pretty sizable channel. It's like over 100,000, 200,000 subscribers or something, kind of a big one. And I guess he watched one of my videos that I made. I have a series that I'm doing a little bit at a time called Words I Refuse to Use. And, he watched a couple of those and he was like, I love this stuff. So I'm going to be on his show tonight. I might stream it on my end as well, or maybe record it and then just like upload it on my channel.
Cool.
So yeah, there's that as well. So, little things that are going on that are kind of interesting. And since I'm going to be like appearing like late at night on his channel, I'm going to try to see if there's a way for me to reach out to Smash JT, because Smash is on like he's on Pacific time, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's actually, I've seen clips where he said he likes my channel, but we haven't actually spoken before. So, that could be cool too. I'm just, it's kind of interesting, exciting things that appear to be happening. So yeah, I'm happy with that.
Right on.
Yeah. So let me give a quick shout out to the people that are watching. We got a lot of news to cover, cultural news stuff that I think is kind of interesting. So let me just give some shout outs to people in the live chat. Hello to Norwegian Black Templar over on Rumble. Hello to Minul. Hello. And FX Hates says WSP. I'm not sure what that means, but welcome to the stream. If you are on YouTube, on Rumble, on Kick, on Twitch, hello to all of y'all. And yeah, let's, I don't want to belabor the point any longer, so let's get into it. So first thing I want to talk about is the new game Pragmata. Now, on this channel, I don't spend a lot of time talking about things like gameplay or the game's story itself, but rather the way that a game is affecting us culturally. And Pragmata has made more of an impact than I expected. So like a while ago, there was a demo out, and I played the demo and made a video where I played through the demo, and I thought it was all right. It was Capcom, and it has a lot of the Capcom trappings in it, because it's it's like the signature of the company is the way that everything looks and feels, and Pragmata seemed in line with that. I wasn't particularly like, I didn't dislike the game at all, but it didn't like make me like, it didn't blow me away. I was just
Right.
like, oh,
Didn't
this
have an
was fun.
ontological shock, right?
Yeah, and I was like, well, at least it's a new IP. Like that was my thing too, right?
Mhm.
Plus, I had this like at the time I had this suspicion that Pragmata might have been like a reboot of Mega Man as a franchise because
Right.
and I'll
Yeah.
explain, you know why I thought that or
Well, no, this is a couple people were kind of thinking that there was some kind of Mega Man connection to it. I'm
yeah,
assuming
yeah,
because
yeah.
Capcom the Blue on the Diane model and whatnot, things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. And plus she's an android. And then the
Mhm.
way that she when she hacks things, there's like these rings around her arm that almost look like the shape of the Mega Buster, which is like Mega
Mhm.
Man's like signature weapon. So I thought that was why I was interested in trying out the demo. Well, you know, I just sort of like I made the video. I said, yeah, this is all right if you're kind of into this thing. It's got puzzles and it's a new IP. That's cool. You know, let me know what you think. And then I just sort of like didn't think about it anymore. And went on with my day. But then the game came out, and it's triggered a lot of people. They're calling that are calling. Let's say they're saying that there's a lot of people that have taken an interest in children after playing the game, and I don't mean sexually, although that's also something that's happened on the dark parts of Reddit. But like,
Right.
I mean, like in general, people were like, "Oh, you know, kids are great, right?" And it's kind of like one of the central themes of it is that you're taking care of this android that has the personality and mentality of an 8-year-old girl, and there's an in canon reason for it too. It's not just arbitrary. And so there you have this like, you know, dad simulator, which is like a thing that you see in a lot of games as well.
Mhm.
Hello, Toasty.
Which, yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
go
what
ahead.
up, Toast? Which was another reason why no one really expected much of this to be controversial because this is nothing new.
No, it's not new. No, no. I mean, you know, we can go into all of the reasons why, but like, but it did piss some people off.
Yeah.
And so like you got, you know, an intense backlash from critics that were freaked out that men were playing it and saying it made them want to have kids or feel protective of children. Hassan Piker went on a big rant calling those guys unfuckable losers who would
Mhm.
just go to a brothel or should just go to a brothel instead of playing a dad simulator game.
Kind of like him, huh? Maybe we can get a
Well, he
15-year-old.
has been to brothels, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe we can
He
ask for a
called, yeah, he
15-year-old as
called,
well.
and it's
Jesus.
funny too because I don't have the clip of him saying it, but I do have another clip of Hassan that's pretty great.
Yeah.
It's funny that he did that because it is a form of mate suppression, you know, that
Mhm.
men can engage in. I don't know if you guys know what I mean when I say that mate suppression. Are you familiar with this term, John?
I think I've heard it, but I can't say that I know it like super solid. So,
Okay, well,
uh,
I can explain real quick. So mate
sure.
suppression is basically like when you do it so that you can like kill the competition on the dating market, on the reproductive market, okay? And there are two different approaches. And it's interesting because there's the way the men do it and the way that women do it. And they both do
Mhm.
it, okay? When women engage in mate suppression, they give terrible advice to other women. They say, "Okay, here's what you should do. Here's how you should live your life. Here's the way you should act. Trust me, you
Mhm.
know."
Right,
And
right,
the
right.
purpose of it is so that women they basically sabotage women's love life by giving
Right.
them terrible advice and then acting like they're doing it in their best interest. When men do it, they basically call them losers. They say, "You're never going to make it. You're never going to be any good. Don't bother trying," right? It's way more out in the open. So
Right.
Hassan was essentially telling his own audience, by the way, that they're a bunch of incel losers that shouldn't like they should just go to a whorehouse instead of like look for a woman and get married and maybe have start a family.
Right.
And that's without even getting into like how hard it is to do that stuff anyway. But like setting that aside, I think that it's an interesting bit of let's just say anti-natalism on the part of Hassan that's playing out. Okay.
Indeed. Yeah.
So but then I guess Shuan Head made a video about it. You guys know who Shuan Head is. Pretty big YouTuber. She was involved with
Mhm.
Gamergate from the beginning. And she used to be a regular guest on our show back then until she blew up. And now, you know, whatever she makes is like gospel. But she clapped back in a video, ripped Hassan for being out of touch, childless, because he is childless, and mocking normal male instincts, which is, you know, because Hassan, and it wasn't just him, there was this woman named Mary Morgan who works for Tim Pool's company.
Yeah,
She has like a podcast. I think it's called Cult. What is it called? Culture something. I've already
or
forgotten.
something. I can't remember. Yeah, but I vaguely remember what you're
Yeah,
referring to. Yeah.
yeah, and she said that men don't have maternal instincts the same way women have. Now, of course, men don't have maternal instincts; they have paternal instincts.
Mm-hmm.
but they have them nonetheless. And it was a weird kind of like pop culture crisis. Thank you, Toasty. It was called Pop Culture Crisis. But it is interesting that Mary Morgan, and this is one of the, I made a video about this phenomenon already, but I was basically explaining that Mary Morgan is a really good example of why, of how basically like almost all women, regardless of what side of the spectrum they claim to be on, are feminists to some degree, and they see men as like predatory by default unless men prove otherwise. And that's because that's how thick the propaganda is. I'm not even angry at her for having those assumptions. That's just a way, unless you work to undo that, you're going to be in that mindset.
Right.
You're going to see men as a problem. It's like the reason why there are no men, there are very few men that are teaching or mentoring children. There are so few men that are essentially operate as that kind of like guiding figure, and it's just dominated by women in daycare and education and all that is because of that way that we see men as inherently predatory. And when Mary Morgan says that, you know, this is like unnatural for men, and she's supposedly on the right, she's just demonstrating that she's not, because that's not that view is it's not at all, let's say, compatible. It's incompatible because you'd be against family in general if you had that attitude. So
well that, and like, you know, it's kind of interesting too, because, you know, feminism more often than not is complaining about what? The patriarchy. And this game is something that actually you know, highlights the positives of patriarchal kind of traits and things like that. And so they kind of have to go after it in a way because that's the thing they're trying to destroy. But quite clearly, you know, you look at the decades of concentrated feminism in the culture, and the results speak for themselves. Look at the state of reality. So, you know, that's why when people were freaking out about this game, I'm like, this came out a couple weeks after Death Stranding 2. No one makes any shit about that. You know, it's like,
because you have a baby in that one too. That's right.
Right. And yeah, and she's actually a toddler at this point, and you know, in the game's progression. So, you know, this was part of The Last of Us. I mentioned when we talked about this on the Week in Culture that, you know, because some people were making a whole big deal about the feet. It's like, that's to show some level of vulnerability. They did it in Die Hard with fucking Bruce Willis. You know, when he's playing John McClane,
I think
he walks
that's
across
a
broken glass.
on anybody who, because I wasn't thinking about that at all,
right?
at all. So if you're talking about like the 8-year-old girl android's feet, I think that's a you problem.
right. But that was part of like their weird kind of fetishizing or trying to say that that's what this was all about, is because it's like, what? No, none of this makes any goddamn sense. You know, like, it's all explained in the context of the story, and people that are just kind of looking for a thing to go after, I think, because you know, there's been so many recent games that they were like, oh, the chuds are gonna get shown up, and it doesn't happen. It keeps like everything, they just been so desperate for a win that they thought, I think, that in some ways that this was gonna be the thing that.
And the thing is too, is that anything that the normie gamers, I wouldn't even call them like the more like the dissident types like me for you, but like just the normie ones, if they're like into something and it doesn't have the message front and center, they have to find something wrong with it. They have to find a way to problematize it. Like, I wouldn't say that, I don't know, like Stellar Blade was intended to like upset wokies, but like the developer was like, I think my wife is pretty, I'm gonna put her in my game. That's really what it was. And of course people liked it because it had like a hot main character, and these people lost their minds because they want to. Well, we'll get into some of the games that they're actually promoting a little bit later. I got one in mind at least, but yeah, it's basically like it goes against their the direction they're trying to push the culture in. So this is the problem with Dad Space, as I like to call it, Pragmata, is that it is like well, I wouldn't say it was like Capcom. I looked into it, right? Capcom didn't have like some kind of intent to say, oh, we're gonna make a game that's gonna make Japanese people have babies, because there's a lot of memes going around that like, you know, this was like Shinzo Abe's like final request was, I need a video game that's gonna get, you know, men and women to reproduce. I think that Capcom just thought this is not a bad idea, just for a concept, and they just went with it. They also have it in Resident Evil Requiem to a degree, because there are sections of the game where Grace has to protect a blind little girl and you have to carry her around. And so like just the act of that is like I think they just understand the kinds of stories that humans relate to. Caring for the defenseless is part of that. Hence the blind girl or the barefoot, you know, girl.
Right.
So, you know, but then again, these people, they really don't like human instincts, because it suggests that there is like an evolutionary component and a biological component to what it means to be human. And because they believe in everything is socialized, everything is blank slate, then all they have to do is like move the pieces around and it'll work just as well. So anytime someone leans on something that's always worked, then they see that as a threat because they think of it as counter propaganda. But Pragmata is not propaganda; it's just a game,
right?
And you know, I mean, there are games that are propaganda. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think that one is. I think it's just, you know, like I said, it's Dad Space. It's
a new franchise. It's being received well.
Death Stranding. Yeah.
Sold like 1 million copies in 2 days.
It did really. Yeah, sold really well. I think Capcom is really trying to, because they had like a bit of a they stumbled, right? I think they're trying to like make good on stuff, and they've had like more successes than failures recently. Like I'm not happy with where their Street Fighter franchise is going, and that's a shame. But they got a new Mega Man coming. They're gonna bring Onimusha's coming, which I mean I've wanted them to do that for a while. We're gonna get Okami is making a comeback, which is another great one. Devil May Cry 5 was awesome. So like I think that they're trying to, like, you know, obviously Resident Evil is like they're one of their biggest ones, if not their biggest. So they're definitely trying to course correct, and they're also trying some new things. So I champion that regardless of the size of the studio. I don't care if you're AAA or indie, but trying new things and taking risks is I welcome it, because I think that's what. Yeah, but I think that's what art is. It's like you have to like take risks. So
and I know that used to be the way that a lot of game companies would build up their flagship titles, is they would make smaller titles that would work out various aspects of mechanics. And things like that. You know,
like I mean, Grand Theft Waters with smaller ideas.
Grand Theft Auto wouldn't be what it is if they didn't have Midnight Club or Manhunt or any of the other stuff they were putting out at the time, because that's how they would do it, is just incrementally build within that, and that allows for some malleability in your creativity, because you can still have like your thing that people know about, but still kind of venture out and try things, as long as they still relate on a mechanics level. So it's wise to always have new stuff coming along with reestablishing franchises, and so
well, let me show you guys the clip of I think I have it here. So this is Hassan as crashing out, as the kids say.
Indeed,
because Shuan Head included him and made a comment on her about his commentary about Pragmata. So we're gonna switch it up to there. Let me see if the audio works. I hope it does, because sometimes this doesn't work as well. Like you can't hear it.
Right. Yeah, I can hear
it. I gotta do this over. Sorry, guys. Hold on a second. Let me just stop sharing and then reshare it. So annoying, but it is what it is. Okay, here we go. Let's listen.
Or you were on the last Shuan Head video. I will literally shoot myself with a gun if you bring that shit up in here. Okay. Why What do you want me to do? You want me to go out, purchase a shotgun, shoot myself in the face, not die in the process, but at least lose significant chunks of my fucking brain so I can operate at the same substandard, suboptimal IQ level that Shuan Head and her dumb fuck audience operates in so I can do a regular response to that? Is that what you want me to do? Do you want me to lose chunks of my brain? Do you want me to John Fetterman myself so I can understand the compelling argument that Shuan Head makes, one that should have been left in the dustbin of history all the way back in 2016? Ooh, look at me. I'm an emo girl and I change my politics all the fucking time. Ooh, look at me. As an emo girl, I look like that one meme on the internet. Okay.
I mean, you know, I'm willing to give anything a try. I mean, you know, let's see what
I think if
happens.
Hassan shot himself in the head, he wouldn't hit anything vital.
Right,
So
exactly.
I wouldn't worry about it. That's basically an empty threat.
Right.
You're not doing any damage.
Empty threat and an empty target. Yes.
Yeah. But it's I mean, like, this is the thing too with these people is that they, and when I say these people, I mean like the left. They immediately stop being like feminists when a woman like has the wrong opinion. Like that just gets dropped immediately and they get attacked. And I mean, if you want to see more evidence of that, check out the recent debate between Rachel Wilson and Brian Shapiro. No, not Ben Shapiro. Brian Shapiro is a different guy, no relation. And yeah, he went after her like hard. Like he was like calling. He didn't have any arguments, so he just called her names and said she was a retarded person. So, but anyway, yeah. So it's funny to watch this stuff unfold. At the end of the day, I think the reason why it's interesting to me is because there is obviously like a fight over narratives that are going on.
Mhm.
And it's about like what is it that like what people like Hassan are doing, these commies, is they're trying to steer the conversation in the way that they think it should go. And so when the stuff that comes in that like, let's say, interrupts that or makes that hard for them, it's not stuff that's actively trying to counter them. It's just stuff that is like something that humans relate to. Like we just relate to the idea of family and children and like having a loving spouse and all of that. Like that's not political, it's just normal. But for these people, everything's political because everything is socialized, everything is permitted. Therefore, if you can undo that and make people like socialize towards something different, like going to a brothel, then you can make that normalized, except that that's not normal for us. Like that's actually like something that will eat away at our soul over time.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. Anyway,
yeah, it is, a lot of it is just about just destroying the confines of what would just be otherwise an acceptable kind of existence. In fact, not even acceptable, but something that people would actually seek out. And so their work is, well, we can't have people going back to this concept of just a nuclear family. That would be the worst thing that anyone could do is actually look at the world in terms of just natural science, biological reality, because that undoes like all the social engineering that they've spent, decades, if not century, trying to get across at this point in time, undermining where we are as a society. So
yeah, for sure. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments. And again, if you want to, you can check out my video of where I played through the demo, and also when I made a video about this, but I specifically was talking about Mary Morgan's comments, and I gave like receipts as to like why men's biological and like say hormonal makeup changes when they have kids and even when they adopt kids or foster kids. Like when they're taking care of people, they're not like, what they would call, I guess, testosterone driven like rage monsters at all. Not that testosterone causes that. It doesn't. That's estrogen, but I digress. But yeah, I made a video where I explained that none of this is true, and that men genuinely are made. We have evolved to protect the weak. That's
Right.
what we are made for. So
That's the concept of the patriarchy.
yes,
Protective nurturing, like
yeah,
people that are
exactly.
willing to spare, like spare others at the sacrifice of themselves. That is a form of nurturing and care, believe it or
Yep.
not.
All right, but anyway, let me know what you guys
Yep.
think about this one in the comments. I'm going to look at some of your thoughts, and then we're going to move on to the next story. Norwegian says, "Oh no, people won't just roll over and go extinct. Fascism." Yes. Toasty says, "Old enough to count, old enough to mount." Okay.
Yeah, that was from one of Hassan's bro tips.
Oh yeah,
back
he
in the
did
day.
say that. That's right. He did say that. That was it was a direct quote. I have some of his old like cringe pickup artist stuff. Not hardly a pickup artist, but it was really bad, really cringy. Norwegian says people like her don't even realize they've been indoctrinated to treat men with suspicion. Yes, that he's talking about Mary Morgan. That's what I mean when I say it's a default setting for most people. We have to understand that we've been propagandized since before we were born,
as they say,
towards a certain goal. So
in 2026, everything's fake and gay, and most of the things that are thrown at you is just part of the sigil magic and the dark, occultist kind of esoteric control scheme that has us all spellbound is rife with this shit.
Yep. Norwegian says Muslim inbreed shits on normal people's IQ. I didn't say it. You said it. Raging Rat says, at Honey Badger Arcade, thanks for saying it. I couldn't come up with a way of saying it without getting in trouble. Saying what? I'm not sure. But whatever it is, yes, I did say it, and you're welcome. Toasty with the Mosty 69 says, men are here to protect the smaller, weaker people like women and children. Yes. And that's okay. That's okay. You know what? If your house is on fire and you call the fire department, you don't want a woman to show up to rescue you because you're like, how did you get hired? Like, you want burly looking dudes that can break the doors down with a fucking fire axe and drag you out of there. That's what you want. So let's just be real. Let's stop pretending like equality is a thing. And let's just look at reality. Reality trumps equality every time. But anyway, with that said, we got to move on to the next story. But let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments. Oh, Raging Rat about Hassan. Don't care if I spelled his name wrong or not. Okay. Yeah.
Indeed.
All right. So next up, we have this little controversy. So Marvel and DC Comics writer Dennis Camp. I mean, it says Denise, but it's Dennis.
Mm-hmm.
He caught major heat this week after the latest Trump assassination attempt at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Right after the shots were fired, Camp posted on X, missed again, sad face, which a lot of people took as him being disappointed the attempt failed. Yeah, because that's what it was.
That's pretty clear.
So when fans and critics went after him, he tried to walk it back. Did you guys know this? He tried to walk it back by posting a picture of a dartboard and saying, I am so bad at darts. And people are really passionate about darts. So he basically made a comment, then regretted it, and then he tried to take it back and say, look, man, I was talking about darts. It's just a prank, bro.
Right.
We knew what you were talking about, considering the timing. And I think that this is going to be more disastrous for the brand, as bad as it already is. So I thought I would bring this up because I'm going to talk a little bit about the assassin or the would-be assassin, Cole Allen, because it's interesting that he was also involved in game development. So I don't know if you knew that, John, but
yeah. I had read that part. Yeah, and not too in depth, but enough that I saw that he was listed as a game developer in an article or two. So yeah.
What?
I said I saw that he was listed as being a game developer in an article or two, but I didn't look into any real specifics beyond that.
Oh, well, we're going to have to get into those in a second here. So, yeah, I mean, no surprise, soy jacked guy, makes comment and then realizes what he said was stupid. And just to drive home that this guy's kind of garbage, even at his job, he wrote the Ultimates at Marvel and Absolute Martian Manhunter at DC. So those are trash books. I hated the Ultimates. I mean, I didn't read them, but I just knew they were bad.
Right.
So yeah, pretty awful. And yeah, but I mean, I guess that's just you're just gonna keep losing money, guys. You just gotta stop hiring trash people, and maybe you'll do better. So, all right, let's get into this Cole gentleman, Cole Thomas Allen, the 31-year-old charged in the recent assassination attempt on Trump at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, was a self-described indie game developer. On his LinkedIn, he listed himself as a mechanical engineer, computer scientist, teacher, and indie dev since 2018. Sounds like a really impressive resume.
Sure.
His main release game is a game called Boredom, spelled Bohrdom. So he's sort of like played with the spelling, which is a weird educational, nonviolent, asymmetrical fighting game based on atomic physics and chemistry. Players can control either electrons or the nucleus in a high-speed physics-based battles. It came out in 2018 on Steam and sold for $2 and barely had any players until this week. So like when the assassination attempt came, then people were like, what is this guy? He's got a game on Steam. Now Steam took it down. They took everything down. So there was like even like discussions because people were commenting on his
whatnot. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, because he was also working on a shooting game or something. And they were like, well, I guess that's gonna fail. But anyway, so this is a video of the gameplay. There is sound. I don't think we need to watch it, but you don't have to worry about it. The sound is just bad, like chip tune music or something.
Right.
So this is his game.
Okay.
I have no idea what's going on. It looks terrible.
I assume it's supposed to be a puzzle game of sorts, kind of like.
No, it's an asymmetrical fighting game, non-violent.
Oh, that's just gay. This is some, yeah, I don't know. This is some modernist art kind of bullshit. Then I don't know. I what?
Boredom, the atomic fighting game. So he studied. This guy got a degree in computer. There is no audio really. Don't worry about it, Gabriel.
Yeah,
it was just like some goofy music playing. So I didn't bother with that. So this is this guy went to Caltech. He got his Master's of Science in Computer Science at the California State University, Dominguez Hills. He was named Teacher of the Month at C2 Education in December of 2024. And according to, this is Jean-Francois Jaripe, he says, according to my evaluation of the trailer, it's likely he experienced depression because this game was shit. He decided to act tonight based on leftist ideology and despair. I think that's a fair assumption.
I mean,
you know, what the thing is, what I think does this is like what I think the problem is with DEI hiring. And I'm just going to say that's what it is, because that game is garbage. It looks bad. It doesn't even look like, I've seen, like, there's indie games, okay? And I get that indie games, they go for, you know, maybe they're minimalist or the budget's not very good or whatever. There are phone games. There are browser-based games that Lindsay, my wife, would like get stuck on sometimes to just like pass the time. They're kind of mindless, you know. It's like sort the liquids and like things like that look 10 times better than this. And he actually tried to sell this for $2. He didn't sell any copies until like he tried to kill the president, and then he sold some copies. People probably bought it to see what the fuck it was about, to see if they can get a look into the mind of this guy. But what I'm getting at ultimately is, when you make someone believe they are better than they actually are, and then they go out into the world and they fail at everything anyway.
That's right.
They will buy into the idea that their failure could not possibly be their fault because everyone told them they're awesome. And when you hire someone who is unqualified, you know, like when someone becomes a DEI hire, I guess that's what we would say now, or an affirmative action hire, or whatever it is, they're going to think that the only way they're not succeeding is because there's a systemic problem that is not recognizing their greatness, and then they'll go out and they'll commit potentially acts of violence, you know? So I mean, I don't know what you think about that, or just like his game in general.
No, I mean that certainly makes quite a bit of sense, because you know, when you go and you set people up for things that are out of their depth range, you know, they don't have the talent, skill, or ability for it. It's basically like taking somebody out in the ocean and just dropping them right in the middle and saying, you know, swim to shore. That's a high degree of difficulty that they now have to surmount, and it's highly unlikely, and they generally, you know, more often than not end up going under and taking a whole bunch of people along with them in the process, because everybody has to sit here and wait for this weak link that was grafted into the chain, you know, thereby you know, undermining the strength of the situation that it once had. So yeah, and when you go and frame it in such a way that you are blowing sunshine and rainbows up these people's asses, telling them how absolutely wonderful they are, well, yeah, of course, the first things they're going to do is look outward, you know,
because there's no reason to look inside, because everyone's affirmed them
then
as
giving them
great
so much
people.
validation and whatnot. Yeah, clearly the problem has to be outside of them, you know, because they were the solution, for fuck's sake, you know. Like, if it weren't for me, things would still wouldn't be working right. Just think about how bad the situation would be if I wasn't here to see it through in the midst of a failure. Yeah. But yeah, I could definitely see this guy just feeling you know, I'm sure there's a lot going on, but I would factor in that his little clever joke in the game, or what the hell, I have no idea what this guy was trying to get across. Like, this is completely lost.
Well, he thought he was making, because he was making his game was about what it was trying to teach people like physics or something.
Right.
So this was like, again, I think that he just thought, oh yeah, like I'm gonna teach people like the super advanced knowledge I have of like nucleuses and electrons and protons with this game I'm gonna make. It's gonna be genius,
Right, and people are going to understand it. Yeah, because this is the work of narcissism at you know, at play, and everybody else just stands around and looks at it like, I have no fucking clue what this is, what you're even on about, and he's like, oh, it's just because you guys just don't know enough, you're not smart enough. Yeah, clearly that, or you know, games should actually be fun. You know, like there should actually be something going on. I have no idea. Like that was kind of like, all right, you can move some shit around, you can get things to activate switches and whatnot. That doesn't necessarily make something a game. You know,
he could have also just made that game just so he can put indie game developer on his resume.
Right.
I mean, I guess I could.
Yeah,
do
technically,
that too.
yeah, technically, I have some old projects. If I wanted to go and just publish
you're
them
definitely
on
an indie game dev. Then
yeah,
you should put that on your CV. Yes,
right. I should just go and post it to, like, you know, Switch or Twitch.io, and there you go. And then there it is. I'm a full blown game dev. Of course, GDC already thinks I am, but that's for other reasons.
Yes,
got to keep track of those bastards.
I mean, it's yes, he was working on a shooting game before he did this. So before he went out and did the actual shooting. And what's up with here's another thing too. He showed up with a shotgun, a handgun, and multiple knives. Like, what did he think he was doing? Like, was that like his loadout? Was he thinking in video game terms?
Right.
He's gonna go in there and he's gonna record it all and then upload it to YouTube. Like, you know, people sometimes they do the like, I play Cyberpunk 2077, right? And if you look on YouTube, there are people who have clips of them going and doing like missions at super high efficiency, like John Wick style, where they're like hacking this guy and they shoot that guy, a couple of headshots, throw a knife, they jump over the other guy. you know, and then they'll switch weapons and do like it's basically like a showcase of their skill. Like, did this guy think he was going to be throwing knives at like Secret Service guys and like
show off
and then
his
somehow do all
Pragmata.
that and spare Cash Patel? Like, did you know that he was supposed to spare him? He was
Oh,
the only
really?
guy he didn't want to kill. Super weird. Like, director of the FBI? Well, he's brown though. Okay.
Right.
Anyway. Yeah, so final thoughts. This guy's obviously like a broken man, and that's why he did that. And I think we should stop lying to people about like their capabilities, and I think we should like be honest with them. Like, dude, you suck. You should like learn another skill. It's okay. Like, there is dignity in doing little things, you know, and that's another thing that people don't have. They don't think about like they think everything has to be like high status, you know. I don't know if it's the internet or what, but I think that a lot of people think that what they do should be something that everyone admires them for. It's like being famous or being an influencer or being like you know, in tech but like at a high level.
Yeah.
As if you're like a janitor or you work in a factory or you know you do something like you drive a truck, like that's somehow like, you know, contemptible, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing too, is that like, dude, you could be doing something a lot more reasonable within your skill level and be satisfied doing that. But you ended up getting involved with these people and it made you crazy, I think.
Yeah, he reminds me, he looks like if Roman Reigns had you know, all of his testosterone replaced with estrogen. This is, you know.
He looks like the guy from what was that movie? It was like the Society of Magical Negroes. He looks like the main character from that. Like Justice. His name was Justice something. I swear to God, look that guy up. Here, I'll look it up.
Yeah, no. I
Society-
as soon as you mentioned it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a hit. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm serious. I'm sorry. A Society of Magical Negroes.
Mhm.
Or whatever it was called, the
Yes, that
American
old
Society of
system.
Magical Negroes. Very important distinction.
Right.
And I will show you the guy. His name is Justice Smith. And I'm just trying to find like an IMDb or something. Oh, here we go. Okay, maybe they'll just give me a picture of this guy. So, yeah, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
where is he? Where is he? Wait, Justice Smith. All right, let's look. Look at him, dude. That's him.
Yeah.
That's the shooter. That's the guy. he's just a little cleaner looking. I mean, look.
Right.
Let's look. Look, there he is. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Who is Cole Allen? Okay. Do we have a picture here? I mean, we have him on the floor, but okay. Yeah, dude, it's him. Like, it's the same guy. Like, I mean, he's like a mulatto guy, so I guess it's not. But yeah, here, I'll switch to the tab. So there he is there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, tell me that isn't the same motherfucker, man. That's the same guy. That's what I mean when I say he looks like the guy.
Yeah,
That's what he looks like. So
it is
okay.
really
Anyway.
stark comparison. Yeah, they look
What?
quite a bit. I say it's a very stark similarity they have.
I'm just saying something about I don't know, something. It looks like he looks like that. So it looks like the same dude. And then you know what I noticed too? Speaking of these sort of like they're like mixed race people, like mulattoes, they tend to be the most woke. You know, Colin Kaepernick, another one. He's like a mixed race guy raised by adopted white parents, the most woke dude. And I think it's because they're struggling with their identity and it makes them more hardcore. But I'm obviously like on the anti-white side, if anything. I just know it's a pattern I've noticed. I don't know why, but that's just what I've noticed. So, I mean, I think I know why, but you know, it is what it is. So, all right. Anyway, let me see what you guys are saying about this, and then we're gonna move on to the next story. Let's see. Tosi says cops and firefighters are hot. Yago Kuno says after sounds weird. I don't know what you're saying, but thanks for your comment. Norwegian says, quote, game dev, end quote. Game dev. Raging Rat 7670 says a shooting game, huh? You don't say. Yeah. Gabriel says it broke new ground. Yes. Raging Rat says this this looks like one of those tutorial garbage to try and learn how to make a game. Norwegian says, I wonder if Alan believes in gun control. Absolutely, he does. Common sense gun control. Derek says, new Saints Row reject. Oh, yes. Yes. He looks like one of the characters from the new Saints Row.
He does
sure.
the geeky one, yeah.
Dude, all he needs is a bow tie.
Yep.
I don't know why they do that. They really like effeminize, especially the black characters.
Oh yeah, it's
anyway.
because you know, black man bad if he's got too much testosterone. So
Black men bad because men.
Right.
Like a feminine, like the guy from Justice Smith, the guy from the American Society of Magical Negroes.
Yep.
Very effeminate. So he's okay. He's okay. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Demasculization. That's
yeah. It's masculinity that's really the problem.
Yeah.
Robert Johnson says elite overproduction developed by Peter Turchin describes a society that has an excess supply of potential elite members relative to its ability to absorb them. Tell a midwit they are elite. Well, yeah. Then you get Hassan Piker. Zeranx gives us $5 and says, can we reflect on how on point Dave Chappelle's Clayton Bigsby was given the levels that exist in that portrayal? Yeah. Literally the SPLC. That's who Chappelle was in that skit. She just doesn't know it. He was playing the role of the SPLC. And I'm telling you, as an aside, I'm waiting for the same thing to come out for the NAACP, Citizens United, the ADL, and there was one other one too that there's another one of those acronym like anti-hate groups. They're probably all paying people off to do stuff so that they can justify their own existence. Because that's what it always was. It's always been a grift. So
yeah. Most think tanks in some way are funded by Rothschild or Rockefeller or Soros money. It seems.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Strange how that works.
It's a useful setup if you want to make some money. Like if I was in the Klan and the SPLC approached me, and they're like, "Hey, you want to do a parade for 50 grand?" I'd do it. Fuck it. As long as you don't get me killed, right? I mean, I'm wearing a hood anyway. You don't know who I am, so. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments. We're gonna move on to the next story. So we have a follow-up on Just Killing or Stop Killing Games campaign. There's been some news with that. So the Stop Killing Games campaign, started by Ross Scott of Accursed Farms, is gaining real momentum in 2026. Their European Citizens Initiative gathered over 1.29 million signatures, forcing the EU Commission to officially respond by July. They just held a hearing in the European Parliament in April that went extremely well. Ross said every Parliament member was responding positively. They've also launched official NGOs in both the EU and US for long-term lobbying, and they're backing a California bill called the Protect Our Games Act that would force publishers to give notice and leave games playable after shutdown. On the legal side, they're pushing a lawsuit against Ubisoft in France over shutting down The Crew. Ubisoft has already started adding offline modes to some of their newer Crew games, which many see as them feeling the pressure. So let's look at this clip. I may have to stop and restart it again because the audio didn't work for a second. But
no worries.
Let me just do this over. So let's look at this clip from Stop Killing Games. This is the guy. Get his name already, but
Ross.
We inadvertently saved 2 games. This is hearsay again, but according to an insider at the company, Ubisoft announced offline modes for The Crew 2 and Motorfest because they were afraid the European Citizens Initiative would pass and thought this might kill some of the momentum. Ironically, I don't think they needed to have bothered. We were already losing momentum when they announced that because, well, you know why. But not killing games is the whole point of this, and I guarantee you Ubisoft had no end-of-life plans for those games prior to this movement. They were absolutely slated to die. We inadvertently saved 2 games.
So, and there's another clip too.
Ubisoft announced that they would add offline modes to The Crew 2 and The Crew Motorfest, which that honestly doesn't change our plans or anything we're doing at all. So I kind of look at this as just a big bonus or a consolation prize. So yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm very happy they're doing it. It's just that doesn't change the trajectory of anything. And they surprised me too, because I did think there was a chance of that, but I never thought that would happen before some sort of ruling from one of the consumer protection agencies, either in France, Germany, or Australia. I will ascribe credit, assuming they follow through, which they may or may not, of the Crew 2 and Motorfest getting offline modes. I 100% think that would not be happening without the campaign. That's kind of a bonus.
All right.
Yeah.
So, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think that he's wise to say to keep moving forward on the initiatives, because even if Ubisoft is going and feeling the pressure to try to go and downplay it now by complying of their own volition, without that stuff in the books, then they'll just end up turning right back around and going back to their old ways quicker than not. So I think that he's correct in his assessment that this wouldn't have happened without the campaign in its own right. It's great to see an actual success along the way. And if anything, I would say that this is kind of more reason to galvanize it, because that's the whole purpose of this thing, is to make sure that these are common sense, good business practices, at the end of the day. So if companies finally decide to start doing stuff like this, which is what used to be part of the standard release, I'm all for it by any means. If they're willing to just actually start doing it on their own, all well and good. But given the way that we've seen the corporatization of gaming over the last 20 years, I still don't trust it. So get the laws on the books to actually
100%.
End of life game support, because that's ultimately the only way that they will adhere to it with any kind of longevity. So
100%. Apparently the video got like thousands of up likes, but one downvote. Everyone's saying that's pirate software. The one downvote.
Right.
But again, I guess it's good that the pressure is on. So there, let's hope that we should definitely keep going. And what are some games that you guys think you'd like to see continue to live after they stop getting support? Because that's ultimately what Stop Killing Games is about, right? Especially if the games were made to be like an always online game.
Mm-hmm.
is basically a game on life support from the moment it's made. And it doesn't mean it can't be good while it's up, but like at some point the servers are going to go down, and then what? Like there should be something else. Like I keep going back to this, but I think it's worth bringing up. There was this old PC game called, I think it was just called Alien versus Predator, but it might have been Alien versus Predator 2, where you can play against your friends on your PC. And like, I think people still play it. Like there's games like that where you can still, get online and play with people. I think Counter-Strike is like that. We talked about how Team Fortress 2 is basically being like kept alive by like one guy, and that's for the online component. But even then, like if there's no online component, there should be offline stuff to do. I'd like to be able to get on, I don't know, like any like sort of like multiplayer game and fight bots or something, just because it could be fun, to play. So
yeah, well, I know I got Death Stranding for Steam specifically because of PSN locking me out. Without a PSN account, a paid for PSN account, then all the connections you have to everybody else who plays Death Stranding don't work on PlayStation. So you still have access to the game, but you can't have access to all that interconnectedness. That's a big part of it. So, and that's just pay gated. So at some point in time, that is probably a game that is going to encounter some degree of this, especially on the Sony platform, I would imagine, because uh, it's it wasn't Death Stranding, as much as I may like those games, they're not that they're not that popular in the broad sense. So I can't imagine that they'll be able to run those servers forever. So those will definitely be some games that will have some issues with connectivity to other people.
Yeah.
Especially, like I say, in the PlayStation environment. Probably not quite as much on Steam, because I don't know how they have it set up on the Steam for how they match up with everybody, but it's certainly a game that is affected by it, which there's quite a few games that now have these always online components, and I can understand how you aren't able to support that indefinitely, but it does seem like a good idea to try to find a way to give people a way that they can continue to enjoy the experience, in a close approximation without that network structure in play forever. I mean, is it annoying? Sure, but that's part of game design, is problem solving. That's
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
part of what you're tasked to do. Come up with a good plan.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I hope they keep going with that. And I also heard, so I didn't look into it much, and I wanted to make it part of the show, but something going on with Sony as well. But
Oh yeah, the
you, you
30-day purchase
yeah.
check-in. Yeah, they seem to be trying to backpedal from that actively,
Oh, really?
because because it was their Xbone moment. Like the thing that they made fun of 13 years ago, they're doing the exact same thing now, effectively, and they're shocked when people were like, well.
So what does it mean, the 30-day check-in? Like, you have to log into
So
your PlayStation?
right. So your license, every 30 days, if you don't get in within 30 days, at least this is what they were suggesting initially, because like I said, there's been some backpedaling since then. But what they're going to have it set up to be is, anytime that you make a purchase going forward, if you don't play it within 30 days, basically your license gets suspended until you check in again. And
Oh.
right. So they try to say that it's for verification of purchases, for refund kind of stuff, but this is just an overreach that they're just trying to get people normalized with. I think, because I was talking to my friend about it earlier in the week, I think ultimately what they would like to have at some point in time is a system where everything is centralized to their servers. You get authenticated in, and you can pay a different tier level of access. To everybody gets essential games. That's just part of the standard library. But then you'll have your premium library that are for games that you own, that you'll be able to have stored for quick access or some kind of stupid bullshit like that. That's what I think the game industry would like to move towards. Ultimately, is just trying to take away any aspect of actual interactive autonomy over it, because this effectively, you have the games stored on your hard drive, but the authentication token doesn't work. And so it's another step removed to just get people to not have the ability to actually save stuff to their hard drives, because right now it's a nuisance monitor. You have to go in and check back in, and it turns it back on, but it's just, again, situating you, or making the situation all too apparent that you have lease access through Sony's purchase system, and the same moreover for most online game networks, there is that. But because I know some people are like, well, there's DRM and Steam as well. Not quite as much. Most of their stuff actually is just about making it work with the Steam interface, because there's a lot of games that you can just go and load from the executable, and they'll boot right up, and they'll do it outside of the Steam.
Well, there's an offline mode for Steam too.
Right.
Um, Although some games that I bought through Steam don't run very well, and I don't know if that's the game or it's like older ones. You know, like I had trouble with Freedom Force and Return to Castle Wolfenstein, and I think there was like another old game.
There are some older games that you do have to do like a little bit of modding to get them to run right. I had the same issue
Fallout
with,
New Vegas was giving me trouble until I modded it. Even then, it still crashes sometimes, but I guess that's just the nature of the beast.
Bionic Commando, the one from 15 years ago, the three-dimensional.
Are you talking about the one with the guy from Faith No More?
Yeah, the one who had him with the dreadlocks. Yeah. That one specifically on Steam, you have to go in and add in a specific driver or a DLL. I can't remember exactly. Otherwise, it won't play at all. It won't even load in. But once you go and put that in there, it works perfectly fine. So there are some games that have little issues like that. So it might be something like that with Freedom Force.
Yeah. No, Freedom Force. I had to get it on GOG, and then it was fine. And I kind of like prefer GOG overall, but like they don't have
right
some of the stuff that Steam has. So I use both of those mostly. That's what I am now. Is the Steam GOG guy.
Purchases work really well sliding right into Steam as well. I think I even have a few things that I bought on GOG.
You run through Steam?
That I run through Steam, and it just downloads them directly from the Steam library now too. And I'm like, I don't know how that works, but okay.
Well, that's weird.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, so Stop Killing Games, they're getting some wins. I guess we'll follow up and we'll see. They got to make a decision by July. They were going to hear back from them, so we'll figure that out in a couple months, and we'll definitely follow up on this channel. So stay subscribed and subscribe to the channel if you're not already, so you can keep up with the latest developments in the entertainment industry, the cultural institutions themselves, but we tend to have a focus on games. But it's not just about that.
Right.
Let me see what you guys are saying.
And quite honestly, I think of all the channels that I've been doing these streams on, this was the first place that I knew of anybody actually bringing up when we started talking about this a long time ago. We were the first ones to ever mention the Stop Killing Games. Yeah, like 6 months before anybody else.
Oh, dude, that's a big deal to me because like I used to get into like I got into MMOs for a while, right? And MMOs are like, I mean, I wouldn't play one now because it's the worst, like for time. But I was into this one called City of Heroes, and I played a lot of that game. Yeah. And the servers went down, right? Because this was an inevitability. And so when the servers went down, I still wanted to play, and a bunch of people that were also interested, they kind of brought it back. Like it still exists now, but it's mostly like you can go in there and it's just like an RP server for the most part. You just go like hang out, fly around, talk to other people. But it was still like a cool thing that I kind of like the idea of it because there's other games that I'm like, well, what happens when the servers go down? What's going to happen to this game? That's why in a way I like single player games because as long as they have replay value, I can always go back and play them. Right. But what's even better are games that have like a couch version, like fighting games or beat 'em ups, because then they have some replay value, So yeah, I mean, I think that the whole thing is interesting, especially because everything is moving towards live service and stuff. It's like, well, if that's where we're going, then we're looking at a series of games that are going to be unsustainable because eventually they're going to move on to something else, and there's going to be like a dedicated fan base that wants to keep playing. And other than like maybe Valve, I think they're maybe the only people who are like continue to support stuff well after it's come out, and they're not even concerned with like whether or not a product makes a previous product of theirs obsolete. Like for example, they have like Left 4 Dead 2, which has all of the stuff from Left 4 Dead in it, but it's just Left 4 Dead 2, so it's just more. It's like they don't mind that they're abandoning something because they're not really abandoning it. They're just like they're just sort of like bringing it into the fold of like the new thing, so that you want to get the new thing, then you have all the old stuff too. And I think those are, because despite the fact that the games industry has been around since like the 70s, it's still a young industry compared to others like music and film and television. And so I think there are people who are looking for new ways and innovative ways to like extend the life on things without hurting the customers too much. Yes, there's a lot of people that are trying to like, they see it as like an opportunity to make as much money as they can and then leave. I get that. I've seen it. That's what Activision does. That's what EA does. But there are also people who are looking for new and innovative ways to like make it grow because they really are they love the medium as a way of entertaining because it is like something that offers something that no other industry does, which is interactivity and choice for the players and stuff like that. So I think that's why I follow this stuff. I try to anyway. So yeah, right. I'm glad to see that we're making some progress. I think the stop killing game thing was inevitable anyway, because like I said, as games move more towards the live service model, you're going to get people who are like, well, what are we going to do?
What am I buying exactly?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, exactly. What am I getting into here? So, all right, let me see what you guys are saying, and then we're going to move on to the next story. Gabriel says they'll need to address the recent Sony DRM that made any digital purchase from a March 2026 require verification with Sony servers within 30 days, or you can't play it, or the CMOS battery dies. The CMOS battery. I don't know what that is. What's that battery?
CMOS. Well, it wouldn't matter too much about the CMOS in this instance because the authentication happens off of, well, in a centralized authentication server, so it's offsite from where you're at. CMOS would be something inside your own system, which is basically the thing that keeps track of your date and time and whatnot.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
But the issue that does happen with this, though, is we just go back to last summer when the authentication server that they actually used for the PSN, if that goes down and they have a system like this in play, then that effectively means that no one's using your network at that point in time for anything.
Yeah.
Because they can't get into games that they already have verified and that just work on their on their hard drive, because it's just they're ready to go in offline mode because they just want there to be this online authentication piece, and which is just it's pay gating ultimately is what it comes down to,
Sure.
Because I think that within 15 years PSN, Xbox Live, whatever Nintendo's version is, I think that they will get rid of free accounts, and you'll actually have to pay for PSN like an annual service fee to just even have your account active. And that's just blind speculation on my part, but just knowing kind of how they've done these things, I think that is ultimately what they'd like to get to. So that way you have to pay to even have the luxury to pay. All the various paywalls that they can put you behind with just one that just works as the master door.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm probably not going to be buying any Sony stuff.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
not getting a PS5 or a PS6 or anything. So I'm not saying that, it doesn't affect me, therefore I don't care. But I'm just saying that it's good to know because I still have a bunch of PS4 games and PS3 games.
Right.
And I don't want that to be an issue.
Right. Well, anything that you've purchased previous to this last week is still under the old contract.
All right.
It would just be anything going forward. But
I'm glad they didn't pull a Darth Vader.
Indeed.
Change the conditions. Pray they don't change them any further.
Right.
All right. Gabriel then says Ross was known for his Machinima series Freeman's Mind, in which he role plays as Gordon Freeman, theoretical physicist. The guy that stopped killing games guy, is that his name? Ross?
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah. Okay. Oh, very cool. Good morning, Gordon. Zerang says this guy John talks about good business practices. He wants us to compete against ourselves. Does he not know how difficult that is? Insert gaming company.
Right.
Gabriel says every digital game on PS3, PS4, 5 will be unplayable due to requiring verification with the Sony servers to verify the license. Zerang says this is why the Star Wars Galaxy's emu exists or existed. I never tried to get it to work before sensitivity stuff sucked the life out of the game for me. Yeah, that was another one. Was Star Wars Galaxies was kept alive by gamers, and there was another game. There was a Marvel game. It was sort of like a Diablo style game that was very popular, and that one is still alive too.
Oh yeah. I remember.
I can't remember the name of it.
God, I'm trying to remember.
It was
what-
just called Marvel Heroes,
Marvel
or something
Heroes,
like
I
that. I
think?
think it was just called Marvel Heroes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that one was another one that was taken down like way too soon, and so people kept it alive, and they're still doing it right now. There's a lot of really great stuff that like users are making to keep games alive. So, but then like you run into the problem of copyright stuff, which I think that's another reason why the Stop Killing Games thing is happening too. So like, you know, that's why they can't sell it, so they just make it available. You just have to do the work to get the game on your PC. Anyway, let's see. Raging Rats is saying some stuff to, I think you guys are having a conversation. Xeranx then says, it's almost like companies should have progressed towards games as series to avoid the Stop Killing Games thing. They could put single titles out to test the waters going forward. I mean, games that just have a really good replay value that are single player are fine. Like, I'm finding that that's a thing that people are doing. Like, one of the things I gotta say about, to Capcom's credit, is they make their Resident Evil games highly replayable. Like, where you want to unlock all the weapons, you want to get all the upgrades, you want to do all the things. Even the games that are like considered low tier in terms of what people think about them, there's a lot to do in those games. RE5 and 6, I haven't done all the mercenary stuff in those, for example. I've barely scratched the surface on 6's mercenaries. So it's good because it's a way to keep you going, to keep you coming back for more. Anyway, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. We got to move on to the next story. So speaking of games that died, we have this story. It's a little bit of a follow-up from a Naughty Dog. So Naughty Dog, you guys remember that there was this game called The Last of Us Part 2. And the original Last of Us game, which I still say is great. I love the first Last of Us game for what it is. It's like the Uncharted games. I don't mind those experiences as single-player games.
There's The Last of Us and The Least of Us.
Yes, The Least of Us. But The Last of Us Part 1 also had a multiplayer competitive game inside of it, which is like, this is like back when you could get a game that had a really good single player experience, and then they would add additional like multiplayer or co-op or something like that. I think Uncharted had multiplayer in it, and it had a co-op game mode. I think the second or third one had it. And it was a lot of fun. I remember playing it. It was sort of like you go from area to area, you fight a bunch of enemies, but it was okay because you got to play it, and it was a lot of fun to do. And so The Last of Us had I forget what it was called. I think it was like factions or something like that, but it was basically like a versus mode, a multiplayer versus mode or deathmatch. And that was on the first game. When the second game came out, as much as like people were, worried about like the story and all that, there were gamers that were committed to the game that wanted the multiplayer for The Last of Us Part 2. They wanted that. And Naughty Dog kept saying, we're going to do it. We're going to give you the multiplayer. Just wait. Here's the main game. Here you go. Now, and they wanted to get people excited for the multiplayer, but the multiplayer never came. And in December of 2023, so this is a few years ago, they announced that they were canceling what they were calling The Last of Us Online.
Right.
Which is a standalone multiplayer game based on the factions mode from the first game. The big twist, so this is the more recent part, because this happened a few years ago. The game's former director, Vinit Agarwal, recently revealed that it was 80% finished when they canceled the game. When they canceled The Last of Us Online. It was about 80% complete, and it took them 7 years to develop it. He called the cancellation soul-crushing and said he only found out 24 hours before they made it public.
Right.
So they told him the day before. His team was working on it for 7 years. That was probably, let me finish this, but that was probably going to be better than the actual story for the first game anyway, or for the second game. Naughty Dog explained that they faced a choice. either pour all their resources into supporting the live service game for years, or they stay focused on single player story games like this one. And guess what? Intergalactic,
Yeah.
the Heretic Prophet. They chose the single player path, including Neil Druckmann's next big project. So they abandoned what probably would have been something that could have been spectacular because it would have just been the gameplay.
Right.
And they chose to go with the single player experience. So this guy, I mean, he probably wanted to hang himself. I'm just saying. Shoot himself in the face with a shotgun, you might say. Like Hassan said.
Right.
And they were almost done. So anyway, what do you think about that, John?
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate considering all the re-releases they continually do with the Last of Us properties. They could have just as easily had a revenue title,
Dude,
revenue
it would have
generating
been,
title out for.
I gotta tell you, it probably would have been really good. I mean,
Yeah.
as much as I hate what they did with the story in the second game and all of that, if they would have just killed it with the multiplayer, they probably could have compensated for what they did in that game. But
Right.
yeah.
Right. And yeah, instead of being just held in disdain far and wide by the majority of people, it'd be more of a mixed bag, and they'd at least have some room to kind of come back from. But clearly, they're more interested on just ham-fisting the message into everything, and this is what they want you to get from their games is the message, not actual fun.
Exactly. It shows
So,
you how
yeah.
ideologically captured they are, where they were like, or at least Neil Druckmann. I wonder if he keeps like the team hostage because he was like, no, I don't care about the game. I want to tell the story. I want to send out the message. We're gonna like they have a show. Well, I don't know if it's over or whatever, but they got another game coming out. Isn't the chick from Intergalactic in the new Mortal Kombat movie? Or am I
Yes,
wrong?
she plays.
She is, right? She plays Jade.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they give her, and they let her have a bald head rather than hiring an actress and saying, "Shut the fuck up, put on a wig. You're here to play a character, not have a character embody you." But oh well.
Yeah.
You gotta pick your battles, I guess. But yeah, she's in that.
Yeah. That's a shame. But yeah, that's what I'm saying though. It does look like it's not about making the game. It's about like what a larger, let's say, ecosystem that I think Neil Druckmann's trying to create. So like when you take this actress from this game and they put them in a movie over here, he's trying to create the gaming industry, as I've been saying, the AAA gaming industry, the woke part especially, they really want games to be the new Hollywood. They want it to be the new movies because people are not going to movies. They're mostly playing video games. They're staying in. Maybe they're watching streaming. And even then, a lot of people watch old stuff.
Right.
And so it's like, well, that's because these people want to alter the culture. They believe in this sort of like top-down influence. And so if you see this woman in the Mortal Kombat movie, which is them using an IP people love, and you push this character in there, then when you see the same character in something else that is a video game that has her likeness, because we have the technology to make people look just like the characters, I think the idea is to get people to be like, oh, she was in the Mortal Kombat movie, I'm gonna play this game. And now you just sold another copy. So I mean, I don't know. It sounds like I'm being conspiratorial, but I don't think it is. That it's not.
No. I mean, there's a lot that goes into the revelation of the method just being done in movies and television. If you can go and turn that into an interactive component, well, then you've just further galvanized the reinforcement of that by getting people to actually manifest these concepts and carry them out. So there is a full court press specifically to utilize games as a way to bring about this new world order of sorts, to use a charged phrase. But that's what it is.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, anyway, let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments. It's a shame that this guy, that this happened, but I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't have worked for these people, is what I'm saying. So we're gonna move on to the next one. Let me see what some of your comments first, though. So let's see. Gabriel Phelan Lucas says Uncharted 3 co-op is working on PS3 again. Oh yeah, that was a lot of fun. I played it with a friend of mine. I should probably play that again sometime. That's good stuff. They killed my 7-year-old child and they didn't even tell me. The Last of Us 2 roguelite mode is good. I didn't even know they had a roguelite mode because I didn't buy that shit. Reminded that Deborah Wilson is in Mouse PI for hire. Dude, the chick just gets work. I can't hate on that. As long as Deborah Wilson's getting work, it's fine. I would not hire her for anything. She's just an actress trying to get work, man. You know, she used to be on Mad TV, right? She was she knew, what's the other guy that was getting all that work back in the day? Phil Lamar, the voice of Samurai Jack and the Green Lantern and shit. So it was like they went out and they got work. I can't hate on that, you know? But yeah, seeing Deborah Wilson and everything is a little immersion breaking, though. It's like she's like a time traveler that just goes into different game worlds.
Right.
She wasn't advertised. Do not redeem. Oh, okay.
She is the Nexus being of games.
I mean, in Mouse PI, I don't think her face is in it because they're all pretty nice. So if she's in it, you're not gonna know. You're not gonna notice unless they literally draw her. Like there's a mouse with bug eyes.
Everything else in the game is in-game animation except for her. You know,
they just make it look like that would be hilarious. I heard Mouse PI for hire is really good though. Yeah. I heard lots of good things about that.
Yeah, it's only $30 too. So
yeah, I know. I have a lot on my plate, but I may pick it up later. Yeah. Raging Rat says at Honey Badger Arcade, honestly, I don't think you went far enough with them wanting to make games the new Hollywood. Well, I mean, I've been saying it for a long time, but it is. They want to make it. They're already doing it, like not just in terms of like pushing the message and all their stories, but in terms of how they do award shows, in terms of like the celebrity culture that they're creating around it. Like when I was a young gamer back in the day, I didn't know the names of anyone involved with making video games I liked, even like really good ones. I didn't know who was the mind behind Castlevania or Mega Man or Street Fighter. I didn't know. I knew who Capcom was, Konami was, a couple of the people, like companies that made them, Nintendo, but I didn't care about that stuff. And now, you have to know these people. You have to know who Neil Druckmann is. You have to know who Shigeru Miyamoto is. You have to know who is Hirohiko. No, wait, I'm sorry. What's his name? The why am I the Metal Gear guy?
Oh, Kojima?
Yeah, Kojima. You have to know who Kojima is. And they want and yeah, you're gonna know the voice actors too. You gotta know Matt Mercer, you gotta know Deborah Wilson, you gotta know,
if you go into a game design course at this point in time, GDC is going to be an expectation from you more than likely as just part of, and that's what that, I mean, I've my whole time here talking about the infiltration of the game industry starts at the college inception level where
absolutely
GDC is all about
as everything does. Right. As everything does.
Yeah, they're grooming you from the moment that they
probably from grammar school. To be honest.
Yeah.
Okay, but anyway, Gabriel says her voice is unmistakable. She only plays herself. Yeah. Robert Johnson says Deborah Wilson put the hurt on Oprah. I will always respect her for that. Well, I didn't know about that. I'm gonna have to look that up. Gabriel says Halo 3 in 2007 was the biggest media launch in history at that point. Raging Rat says at Honey Badger Arcade, oh, I know that you've been talked about it for a while now. I was just saying this time. I've been following you since GG. Oh, awesome. Thank you. Wow, that's a long time. Yeah, well, I'm still here ranting about it. So I guess that tells you something about how far we've come. So, okay. Thanks for that. Now we got to move on to the next story. let's talk about Animal Farm. So speaking of Hollywood, the new Animal Farm animated movie makes some pretty drastic changes from George Orwell's book. I don't know if you guys know. It adds a brand new main character, a young piglet named Lucky, who becomes the focus of the story. The ending is completely inverted. Instead of the book's bleak, hopeless conclusion, where the pigs fully become like the humans with no real resistance, or like there's like it becomes difficult to know the difference between the pigs and the humans, i.e., the Bolsheviks and the imperialists that ruled Russia before. Because, well, I'll get into it later, but George Orwell is not as base as everyone says, and I know that seems like a controversial position, but bear with me. But let's finish. The ending is completely inverted, right? The animals actually overthrow Napoleon and the corrupt pigs, giving it a hopeful, uplifting Hollywood ending. So where the book ends bleakly, this one, because I guess it's a family film, they give it a happy ending. You know, it also softens a lot of the violence. It shifts the satire more towards criticizing corporations and overconsumption instead of totalitarian communism, and it adds plenty of kid-friendly slapstick and fart jokes. So it's getting it's at 23% on Rotten Tomatoes. They're calling it a watered-down, totally confused kids movie that betrays Orwell's dark warning. Moviegoers are split. Some families claim they're enjoying it as a fun adventure, but a lot of book fans are furious, saying it completely misses the point of the original story. And I have this clip that I got to show you guys because it's ridiculous about this. Let me make sure there's audio.
Come on.
Oh, yeah, here we go. So, and by the way, I knew this was going to be a disaster when I heard Seth Rogen was going to be in it. So I was like, no, this is basically dead in the water. And I have an understanding as to why this happened, because to have this be made by Angel Studios it's a travesty. I was so confused.
They didn't make it. They picked up the distribution on it because no one else would. However, there is something kind of interesting in that one of the jokes, the fart joke specifically, they refer
I'm going to play it right now.
Yeah,
this is the fart joke. So let's listen.
Hey, where'd this come from? It's leftovers. It'll go to waste. You should have this for all your hard work.
No. Thank you, but it's supposed to be shared equally.
There is no supposed to anymore, okay? We're free. For example, I'm about to fart right now. This is the sound of freedom.
This is the sound of freedom.
That's quite the insidious joke. Again, revelation of the method, humiliation rituals, things like that. You know, like to play ball in Hollywood, Angel Studios has to go and effectively cuck their most valuable property that they've really even become known for, and undermine it through a fart joke. Glorious.
Yeah. So let me give you guys the context. Angel Studios was basically a purely donation funded studio that was making shows and movies that were they were Christian basically. The primary funders were like Mormons, so I don't.
It's called Angel Studios. You know, it's like it's supposed to be very traditional values.
But like I think they're primarily funded. They were at least by Mormons, because Mormons tend to make a lot of money, and they also. But the thing is, Mormons are kind of culty. They're not really
right. And they do have like an entire movie production kind of thing that they would do, like the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, the big ass one in Utah, specifically in Salt Lake City. Yeah, they've got a viewing theater in there. It's the size of what would be considered a large movie theater, and they constantly put movies in there. So they have their own production company, things like that. So yeah, just kind of one of those things that kind of built over time, because they wanted to make sure that they had entertainment that reflected the values of people that are Christian and whatnot. So,
but that being said, though, they did so like when it started out, it was a thing that ran on mostly donations, right? But you could anybody could donate. Probably the majority of donors were like little donations here and there because they were offering something that Hollywood wasn't, because Hollywood was basically like knee deep in shit. And Angel Studios was like, well, here's some stuff that's like, you know, more family friendly, less degenerate, more religious, I guess, but not always. A lot of it was just kind of like there was like a very popular children's show called The Tuttle Twins, which is basically like all libertarian like lessons like about small government, and it's pro, you know, like property rights and things like this. And the Tuttle Twins were pushed really heavily by a very popular YouTuber named Jenny Borowski. I remember her. She used to be really big on YouTube back in the day, and I even had her on the show like once, like a while back. Anyway, Jenny Borowski was involved with writing the stories, and she was selling them as books. They were just books for children that were like libertarian books. And they made that into a show. So it wasn't just Christian content. It was also like sort of like, you know, generally like small government, alternative, you know, kinds of content.
Nuclear family, traditional values.
Yeah, tradition, pro America, you know, and even the stuff that was like Christian coded wasn't necessarily like overtly like, you know, out of the Bible. It would be like other stories, you know, and they were giving work to actors that were pretty big in Hollywood but couldn't get a lot of work because they had like a, you know, maybe they had a personal code that they didn't want to like go against. Like there's this one guy named Neil McDonough who was in, he always played bad guys in shows and movies. Like he was on Justified, and he was also in I think his biggest role that I know him from was like he was in the Marvel movies. He played Dum Dum Dugan. It was like one of the Howling Commandos in the Captain America movie. The guy with the mustache, the bowler hat.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but he had this thing where he, you know, he was married to his wife. He was very committed to her, and he would not do romantic scenes with other women. He wouldn't do any kissing scenes or anything like that. And so he couldn't get work as like a main actor. But Angel Studios gave him some work, so he would do some movies with them. He did one I never watched. It was called The Shift. And it was about like this guy that was like going into it like another dimension or something, like where he like, I think he like lost his wife and this guy promised him something. It was sort of like a story about making a deal with the devil, but they didn't show you anything. It was more, you know, it wasn't like overtly, like I said, it wasn't overtly Christian. It was just like you can have stories that are normal stories that have like ethics that are more in line with, you know, Christian ethics or even Hellenic, sort of like Greek philosophers like Aristotle and stuff like that, which is like in line with Christian ethics. But yeah, so Angel Studios was doing that, and then they came out with their big show, The Chosen, which is basically the New Testament like made into a show. And I mean, I got into it. I got into like up to the 4th season, and I really liked the way they presented it because it was more digestible. It wasn't preachy. It felt very like normal, like you just saw real people. And they didn't speak like ancient people spoke. They spoke like modern people spoke, which was jarring for some people, but it made it so that you can understand better
the
like
actual context. Right.
Yeah. It made it easier to absorb, you know, the stories. And so because of that, people just thought, well, yeah, this is like, you know, these guys, this is a Christian company, and it is, but it isn't. You know, it was basically like more of a dissident, not Hollywood company. And then they made their movie The Sound of Freedom, which is what I'm getting at. The Sound of Freedom was, again, it was a movie that was pitched to Disney years before. Disney didn't want it. They wouldn't, and then they repressed it for a while. Like they didn't want it out. And then they finally got it to come out. And it was like Jim Caviezel. And it's basically like a guy who works in I think he worked in Homeland Security. And he was involved with like essentially rescuing children that are being sex trafficked. Yeah. And it was a big sex trafficking movie, and the studios didn't want it out. And then when they finally managed to get it to come out, Angel Studios took it on. They said they were going to release it. And remember how the media treated that movie? They called it like a conspiracy movie, a QAnon movie. They were shitting on it. There were even like incidences.
Dog whistle.
Yeah, they were calling it a dog whistle. It wasn't just that though. there were incidents of the film being like, you know, that people would like pull the they would like cut the power in the theater so you couldn't watch it. Like there were people in the theater preventing people from watching the movie.
Right.
I eventually did go watch it with my wife just because of all the controversy. I want to see what the big deal is. And it was just like, it was a decent movie. There was nothing crazy, and it wasn't like I mean, there is like a bit where they explain like this is how many children are trafficked all the time and all of that. And we know that happens, but it's wild because at the time the borders were open. Like we were, you know, it was like a hard time in the country because of that. And so I thought, oh, this is a really important movie, and Angel Studios were the only ones that were going to basically distribute it. But then Angel Studios got big enough that they went public, and I think that's what changed.
Right.
When Angel Studios went public, and then they had stockholders and stuff, then it changed the way that they decide what gets made and what doesn't. Yeah.
As they say, intention is everything, because whatever your intentions are, that's what you'll manifest around. And so if you intend to do good work, then you'll generally manifest, you know, things that are abundant to those goals. But if your intention is to profiteer and just be part of, you know, the, I guess, the status quo, then you'll start doing the things that they do. And, you know, it's just, you have two paths and you can only take one of them. You know, they chose profiteering.
Yep. And well, yeah, they chose to so like what happened is this movie was, you know, they got the rights to make it. And I guess Angel Studios, they decided to go for it. And what I think, like at this point, so here's what's happened, okay? Andy Serkis makes the movie. They probably thought, I have a feeling that Angel Studios didn't know, like the council, whoever it is that like decides whether to green light, you know, the distribution of a film or not. They went with it because I think they thought it was going to be faithful to the book. Because if you remember, they made an animated film based on Animal Farm that came out in the 50s. I've got it. Yeah. It came out in the 50s, and it was made because we were in the Cold War. And it was essentially a reminder. Yeah, it was a reminder. It came out during the Cold War on purpose for Americans to watch, even though the book is written by Orwell's English. And the purpose of it was a warning to Americans, just like a lot of other things that were coming out in the Cold War. You guys remember the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers is an anti-communist movie. Right. And that's okay with me. I want all the anti-communist movies. I give them. I can't put it in my veins directly, you know. But I guess the Angel Studios people did not watch the film, which they should have. They didn't watch the film. They just greenlit it, and they presume maybe because Andy Serkis was like worked on Lord of the Rings, and they thought Lord of the Rings was pretty faithful, which it was for the most part. That maybe this would be faithful. And it turned out to not be. In fact, Andy Serkis, in an interview, explained why he made these changes. When he acquired the rights, the Orwell estate's only condition, this is what the Orwell estate said, their only real condition was that he not diverge too far from what the book is about. Right. Whoops. And they haven't, the Orwell estate has been silent ever since the film came out. Angel Studios has been silent, like the people who work there. Only Serkis. In interviews, Serkis said, well, we're living in such a difficult time with no hope. I don't know where he gets that from. So he didn't want to leave kids with the book's total despair. He wanted to give the next generation a sense that they can still fight back and that history doesn't have to endlessly repeat itself in the same way. So what I suspect is this. First of all, when Angel Studios went public, you have like different interest groups getting involved, you know, everyone can, because before, this is the thing about like, I've talked on the channel about shareholder capitalism, right? What is described as shareholder capitalism? Shareholder capitalism is what we call corporations. You know, everyone buys a share or shares, and so it's like they own a piece of the company. It's kind of a collective bargaining, but it doesn't allow them to bargain with it because generally, if you buy a share or some shares in like Ford or something, you can't really tell Ford like what to make in terms of cars unless you own like enough of them.
Right.
But
Like
still,
a
like,
big stake where
yeah.
you act.
Well,
Yeah.
the stakeholder, that's the I was going to
Yeah.
get there.
Yeah.
I've talked about stakeholder
Yeah.
capitalism. And how stakeholder capitalism is basically like, oh, we're gonna try to use the company in a moral way because we all have a stake in the company. And it's
Right. Right.
basically just like straight up,
Ideologically shaping how it
it's
operates.
straight up commie shit.
Yeah.
But the problem with shareholder capitalism is that, or what they could describe as shareholder capitalism or corporatism, is that there could be activist people who are involved in purchasing or who own part of the company. So this is the problem with it, and I think that that's what we're looking at in terms of what may have happened. So first of all, you have the people that should have watched the film and they didn't. For some reason, they blindly like accepted that Andy Serkis was not going to like diverge too much from the original story.
They got caught up.
He bought it from the Orwell estate under the assumption that he wouldn't do that. So I think that it seems to me that Andy Serkis is the one that broke the agreement when he changed the story from what the Orwell estate said.
Right.
And Angel Studios made the fatal mistake of trusting.
Right, without any oversight, they just
deceive
kind of
them.
went along with it, and then at this point in time, it's already made. They're in business together, so they probably can't really say this guy fucked us over or anything like that. There's probably non-disparagements, things like they just have to do business. So the only thing that the non-response is the response, because they don't have any way that they can really even say anything about it to counter it, because it's pretty obvious what a lot of people just bought into the idea that you could trust certain things based on just the face of it without actually having a system of accountability or oversight in place to ensure that those principles and values were adhered to, and instead they just got caught up in a virtue signal, based on kind of like amassing a egotistical bit of pride, and so this is how quickly things can be compromised, if not outright corrupted. It only takes a few key moves, and you can go from a company like Angel Studios completely undermine any of the goodwill and everything that they've built up. Their entire reputation is completely undermined because of this maneuver. For the people that actually matters to, which is ultimately the customers, the people that would go watch this and actually support them. And honestly, Seth Rogen's probably laughing his ass off harder than anybody, because he managed to get, in some ways, like these chuds to own themselves, because they just didn't actually take the time to pay attention to what they were even signing on for. So it's a shit show. Yeah.
Angel Studios did respond to the criticism. They basically mainly apparently engaged in deflection and focus on audience voting,
response,
and sarcasm meme. So firstly, they repeatedly stress that they are only the distributor, not the producer or creative force behind the film. They have no creative control. They also highlight that their Angel Guild, which is the crowdfunding audience, watched the film and voted heavily in favor of it. So the audience are stupid, I guess, the people who watched it. They launched a page on their site titled something like "Your opinion is wrong." They playfully but pointedly mock critics using Animal Farm pig-themed language. Quote, "I have personally reviewed your feedback. It is wrong. Every scene was reviewed by the pigs and found to be correct and good, and categorizing complaints as error_incorrect_feeling.exe. Many viewers saw this as tone deaf or attacking fans." So they're basically trying to like say, oh, the pigs have decided you're wrong, which is like in line with, I guess, like the pigs narratively in the story that would shut down conversation in Orwell's version of the story, by the way. And then Andy Serkis, obviously, Angel has promoted clips and interviews where Serkis says he welcomes the backlash because it sparks debate, exactly what Orwell would have wanted. That's what Andy Serkis claims, by the way. Except that Orwell would say, "You didn't make my movie. You didn't tell my story. You told a different
Right, you
story."
bastardized it. Right.
Yeah. So basically, their strategy was to distance themselves creatively. We just distribute movies, lean on their guild's approval while they decided it. Frame critics as misunderstanding the film or overreacting, and then use humor and sarcasm to clap back. Of course, this has only made things worse for them. I think that was a really stupid move on their part. So yeah, they dropped the ball hard on this one, and it's too bad. But like, you know what? They deserve it, I guess. I don't think this is gonna make a lot of money anyway.
Yeah, no.
Somebody went to the, I think it was a real life fake wizard, went to the theater, and he took a picture, and there was like nobody there. So I don't think it's gonna make a lot of money anyway. I think that they made a mistake, and I think the best thing to do is to own it and just be like, "Oh yeah, we fucked up." So, anyway, the other thing I wanted to say, one last thing, is about Orwell himself. So this is like something that I've been thinking about because no one says this. So yes, Orwell wrote 1984 and Animal Farm, and he wasn't anti-communist really. He was a lifelong democratic socialist, like Bernie Sanders. So his issues were that he saw capitalism as a system that inevitably leads to mass unemployment, dole queues, ruthless competition for markets, and war. He believed free competition always ends up creating monopolies and an irresponsible form of tyranny that was often worse than state control. In a 1944 review of Hayek's The Road to Serfdom, he wrote that capitalism leads to dole queues, the scramble for markets, and war. He was also fiercely anti-imperialist. His time as a colonial police officer in Burma turned him against the British Empire. He saw it as a cruel, hypocritical system that corrupted both the rulers and the ruled. That's a big theme in his early novel Burmese Days and essays like Shooting an Elephant. So he saw fascism as a more brutal version of capitalism that emerged when the system was threatened. He fought against it in Spain and considered it an obvious evil, but he was more obsessed with criticizing Stalinist totalitarianism on the left because he felt it was a perversion of the socialism that he actually believed in. So Orwell's criticism of socialism is, or at least like of communist Russia, is not that communism always fails and ends in like mass starvation and death, but rather that it was a perversion of his idea of what it should be. It wasn't the correct utopia. Overall, he attacked the left for betraying his own principles through authoritarianism, which I guess if you are a communist, you think that you could live in a world without any rules or government and everyone just has stuff, which is completely ridiculous. But he also thinks that he wasn't pro-capitalist at all. So this is like an important distinction. And this is the thing that's a little bit freaky about this, because the Animal Farm movie, ultimately the plot changes in that not only is it the stuff I said, but apparently the actual contents of the book happen in the first 20 minutes. And then after that, it's a whole other story where a woman who is based on Elon Musk and looks just like his mother, driving a Cybertruck, shows up and basically corrupts the pigs. So she's the one that changes the pigs, right? It's not that the pigs were already evil, like Napoleon wasn't already obsessed with power or whatever. It's because they were normal, and then this capitalist corporate pig shows up and basically makes them this way, corrupts them. And then the system becomes like a corporate system, and that's what Andy Serkis thinks they're criticizing like capitalism, but it ends up looking like corporatism or crony capitalism. So they kind of like everyone's like sort of missing the mark a little bit here, and obviously it's a betrayal of the book, but if you took Orwell's beliefs, he might have made that claim because he did say that capitalism leads to, monopolies. And I think that, like, I don't think that's true. I don't think monopolies are possible without the state, but that's what he believes.
Mhm.
So, or believed. And he sees Stalinist communism as basically the same thing as fascism. Because they're totalitarian, which is what 1984 is about. So in 1984, he's not talking about any specific like side of the aisle. He's just talking about
Right.
totalitarianism in
Right.
general. But yeah, so
Yeah, authoritarianism can wear many banners. It can have many different labels, but it's still the same
but it's
boot on
pretending
the
to be different things, but it's the same
Right.
thing. It's totalitarianism, no matter how you place it. So
Yep.
And I don't think Orwell is ready to accept that reality. So maybe it's because he was an atheist. So I don't know. But let me know what you guys think about that one in the comments. Let me see what you guys are saying. And then we have one piece of cake. So Norwegian says, I would lose no sleep if this studio went under. Yeah. Then he says, Mormons believe Jesus is a space alien and not one with the Father and the Holy Spirit.
I mean, I grew up in a
You did?
in a Mormon household church. Yeah, some of that. I mean, that's a whole ball of works.
But do you think that I don't really know much about Mormonism. I've known some Mormons, like some LDS people, and they're pretty nice.
Yeah,
Do you remember that South Park episode where
dumb. Yeah.
I never watched it, but I know that it was sprinkled throughout with like, oh yes, they actually believe this as like a thing.
Yeah.
Do you think that it was pretty true to
that actually, yeah, there's a lot in that episode. Yeah. Mormonism, LDS is they prefer to be called these days Latter-day Saints church. It's like anything. There's a lot of people that just they want fellowship and community, and they're just decent upstanding people. But then it's like there's a left-hand path for everything, it seems. So there definitely is some weird kind of stuff that happens under that banner, the fundamentalist Mormons with their sister wives and all the kind of weird crazy shit. Like there's more than enough strangeness that goes into it. But just your average run-of-the-mill Mormon, for the most part, they're generally fairly harmless. But yeah, there's definitely, there could be some weird shit in there to try to like minimize what would be an otherwise whole other fucking series of live streams.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I was just, I mean, maybe we could do a series, and I'm okay with talking about it, but okay. So I was just curious about your thoughts. So then Dean Domino says, Seth Rogen, this is going after the people who bring me my child slaves, referring to the Sound of Freedom. Yeah,
right.
I'm telling you, man, I would not mess with that guy. Zerang says the love of money is the root of all. Graph go up. Yeah, stakeholder Jesus. Norwegian says it's wild that a studio that started out with Christian values turned into a subversive one. Well, I think that they started off one way, and maybe they were just looking at the writing on the wall, and they were like, well, this is a vacancy. There's like a market here that no one's capitalizing on. Let's capitalize on it. And it was probably a smart move.
Seduction happens
like every other business.
Seduction's a very crazy thing, because like a lot of people think seduction's like sexy, woman trying to like that's a distraction. When magic is happening, the distraction is the thing that captures your attention. The seduction is the shit that goes unnoticed. And so it's not hard to seduce. Look at what they're trying to do with Expedition 33. The Sandfall Studios is committed to actually maintaining some semblance of autonomy and actually doing things that they want to do, because the game industry is all too ready to invite them in with open arms and start working on them to get them to be just more of the same status quo bullshit. So yeah, that's seduction. It's hard to see, and that's the whole point of it. It's supposed to be subtle, and it's like it's like when Anakin gets seduced by the dark side of the Force, or it's just the way these things work. There's a quick way, and there is a way that is more rewarding through the experience. But a lot of people, they just want shit now. I want success. I want power. I want this. I want that. So it can turn, very quickly.
Yep. Okay. Let's see. Because the ideal state represents a monopoly on the use of force. Yes, that's what the state is, or it seeks to be. The monopoly that enables all others. Look up the teachings of the founder of Mormonism, Norwegian says. The people are nice, the religion is wacky. Tolkien illustrated seduction really well with the One Ring. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. All right. Well, thanks, guys, for the comments. And now we're going to get into our last story. It's a short one. It's basically about a game that is coming out or out. I think it's out. And it's called Aphelion. Aphelion is a new science fiction action adventure game from Don't Nod. That's the same studio that gave us Life is Strange. And what's that one? Oh, shit. Bloom and Rage?
Yes, the Bloom and Rage.
Yes, yes. It
The
follows
Sisterhood of the
astronauts.
Traveling the Witch Pants. Yes.
Yes, the Bloom and Rage. Some people say, "Oh, Life is Strange was good." I'm sorry, I wasn't into that. Like, I never played it, so maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But those story games like that, I think those are the problem. And I'm not saying they shouldn't exist, but I don't think we should necessarily. We should definitely be looking at what's going on under the hood there before we celebrate them.
Right.
All right. Aphelion is, a new science fiction adventure game from Don't Nod, the studio behind Life is Strange and that Bloom and Rage game. It follows two astronauts who crash on a frozen alien planet and have to survive while being hunted by a mysterious creature. The game launched just a few days ago on April 28th. It came out on Steam, PS5, Xbox, and day one on Game Pass. Critics have given it mixed reviews. Some praise the story and visuals, but many call the gameplay clunky, repetitive, and more of a walking simulator than an action game. What has people fired up is that Don't Nod is a French studio that regularly receives government subsidies and tax credits. It's actually what they use mostly to fund the game.
Yep.
The game is also developed in collaboration with the European Space Agency. On top of that, the lead writer is Lee Alexander. Do you guys remember Lee Alexander? Let me get you guys this person. Lee Alexander was one of the original Gamergate opponents. And so we need to be reminded. I'm going to take you guys down memory lane here. Here is Lee Alexander, or a picture.
Right.
She is one of the people who wrote the infamous "Gamers Don't Have to Be Your Audience" article in 2014. And she was involved, by the way, in to some degree in consulting for video game development. Now she is writing. So she wrote the story. She is one of the main writers for this game. Oh, here's a pretty well-known image of her. This is like one of the classics right here. About as flattering as it gets.
Right.
So anyway, she's famous in gaming circles for a 2014 article that basically said gamers don't have to be your audience. Combine that with the main character design. We're gonna get into that in a second. Just another Deborah Wilson, basically bald-headed black woman. And a lot of gamers are calling it another taxpayer-funded woke flop. And here's the thing, too. Yes, her. That's right. Lee Alexander. Isn't she the one who hated catcalling until it stopped happening to her? Oh, I don't know. I can't tell them apart. You're probably right. I don't know. Maybe. But yeah, this woman is a Gamergate, like kind of a legend, a lesser legend, like a lower level boss.
Right.
So it was like her, obviously Anita, and Patricia Hernandez was another one. Some of those, I wonder what those people are doing. So, all right, she's a Gamergate myth. Yeah, she's a Gamergate cryptid. So let's take a look at the we're gonna look at the video for this, because I gotta show you all. We gotta look at this, okay? And then I'm going to We're gonna look at the trailer for the game, and then we'll get a little bit more into her, and we'll wrap it up. But okay, here we go.
Indeed.
The trailer for the game. Of course, it's on Xbox.
Personal log. Ariane Montclair reporting from Hope One. Exploration mission to Persephone.
Dude, looks like a dude.
Mm-hmm.
The ship is gone. I managed to escape the wreckage. I'm alive somehow. But I've lost contact with my crewmate, Thomas Cross. Our mission was clear. To understand whether this planet can support life. Whether it can save humanity from a decaying Earth. I don't know if I can salvage this mission.
They're really trying to force an emotional response.
The weather shifts without warning.
What?
I say they're really trying to force an emotional response, but this music is terrible, and this woman's voice acting is pathetic.
Yeah, what's going on with this cliff edge? Oh, it doesn't look. It didn't look believable for a second.
Anticipated. The weather shifts without warning. The terrain is sharp and forgiving. Thomas, where are you? I believed we'd face it together, side by side. I'm making my way across breathtaking landscapes and observing enigmatic
Dude, what? This
phenomena.
does sound terrible.
What a blast it would have been to study this planet together. Now, I'm climbing alone unstable terrain,
DEI
braving magnetic
stranding,
storms,
man. This
hoping
is
to find your
not
life.
good.
I could tell that everything's fine, that I have everything under control, but you'd know I'd be lying. The truth is, I'm terrified. I feel watched. Like Persephone knows we're here, like it never wanted us to.
Yeah, this is some
How would I
fucking,
if I'm ready for
know,
what we might discover?
let's get the government to fund us to
Thomas,
try and
if you
make
hear
a
this
shittier
message,
version of Death
I want you
Stranding.
to know that I'm sorry. We said things we shouldn't have. You're the one I'm fighting for. So hold on. I'm coming.
Yeah, so it's out, and it's got like 30 people playing it right now. I think it's literally the same. It's the development team that's playing it.
Indeed.
Like, basically the peak was 200 players on Steam.
Yes, I could
So,
see this this logo
And it
very
was
quickly
funded by
turning
tax
into crap
dollars.
hellion.
That's kind of what I wanted to say about that. What was that, John?
I said I could see this logo very easily turning into crap hellion.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
So
is not good.
a lot of tell, not much show. No, the game doesn't really have. It's mostly just a walking simulator.
Mhm.
Like there's some traversal, but I don't know if you guys saw that. Basically, it was all like marked, so it wasn't like difficult. It wasn't like playing the
Yeah.
original Tomb Raider or
Well,
something.
devs
like
got
that.
paid on the front end, so they're not worried about sales. You know, this whole
Yeah,
thing.
they got paid already. That's the
Yeah.
thing too. Is this is what I mean. Like when you have like these tax funded projects, they don't
Yeah.
need to make money because they've already made it.
They,
So
they
they're just
mimic
making the
they
game.
mimic a game release, but this is all revelation in the method kind of stuff. This is how do we go and manifest this bullshit into reality where it otherwise wouldn't exist. And you know, if they can catch a few people in the process, awesome, all well and good. But ultimately, it's really just about making sure that people are putting their time and effort towards, I guess, concentrating the energies of their ideology and trying to get that stuff just out there so that it's hard to miss. You know, but yeah, they aren't actually making a game because they give a shit about making games. Clearly,
Yep. Yeah, it looks like ass.
yeah.
So another woke flop paid for by your taxpayer dollars. Congratulations.
Yay.
And again, the point is to basically remove the consumer altogether. Like eventually it won't be about you spending money on something. They'll just make it available at a library or through some kind of service, but then it'll have to be the games that they approve of.
Mhm.
So this is why like that's what they want. They want video games to be like Hollywood, and they also want them to be like libraries where they get to decide what the content is.
And monitor everything that you're taking in so that yeah, they know how to adjust accordingly.
No fun allowed. Thank you, Lee Alexander, because that was the creative force behind the writing of this game. So these people from 2014 that were involved with trying to like shut down gamers with their articles are now making games. I've said this for a while too. Anita Sarkeesian worked on games. Now we know Lee Alexander is. I'm going to look up the other ones. I want to see what Patricia Hernandez is up to. I bet she's working at a game studio. I bet a lot of these people from 2014.
Well, I know that she used to be a
in the
Kotaku
industry.
writer.
What?
I know she used to be a Kotaku writer at one point in time. Patricia Hernandez.
Patricia Hernandez? Yeah.
Yeah,
I bet.
yeah. So
because they want to get involved.
I
in
wouldn't be
want to
surprised
push their
if she's found her
ideological
way,
bullshit in there.
into the actual game design space at this point. At least, if not, at least as a consultant, if nothing else. But yeah,
That's Patricia. I mean, Lee Alexander was doing consulting in 2014. She even said that she was doing it back then. She's writing them now. So yeah, and again, she doesn't have to be good at her job because she's gonna the job gets paid for by the state anyway. So it does. You don't need to be good at what you do because the money's already guaranteed.
Yep.
So all right. Anyway, that was our shit fest. There we go. So I've got it all out there, and we're a little over time. That's okay. So I guess the next thing is, John, what do you got going on this week?
Well, Toasty wasn't feeling all that great last night, so we suspended the Friday panel to this evening. So tonight around 8 p.m. Eastern, we'll be hanging out over on her channel. Tomorrow, of course, you can always find me there with her at 8 p.m. Eastern throughout the week, scheduled Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And then tomorrow at 11 a.m., we are doing a review of Hot Fuzz over on Will's channel. And of course, I'm there throughout the week at 11 a.m. Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays. Toasty joins in quite often, but I'm always there with Rhoda and Will those days of the week. And of course, we're here doing this on Saturdays. And I think, given that we had the last 2 weeks off, I think we did pretty well for getting all caught up within appropriate halo of time today, keeping it in pace. But I do want to thank everybody for going out of their way to hang out with us today. We do appreciate, all the likes, shares, follows, the reposts, all the various ways, even if you're just here lurking and hanging out and being, a viewer. We appreciate all the support, however it comes. But of course, with that all said, y'all have a wonderful weekend going forward. Of course, safe travels ahead. Be awesome as always. And yeah, we'll see you again next week.
Yeah. All right. And if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think about what we talked about on the show today. I know it was a lot of ground to cover, but I had to leave some things out too. But we'll get back on track. So, and share the video because sharing is caring. Thanks, guys, so much for coming on this episode of The Week in Culture. And we will talk to you guys in the next one. Long live Vivian.
With the glass ceiling broken, all the oppressed groups shall prosper, especially the most oppressed group of all, gamers.
I want people in the industry to be a little bit louder about people being mean to other people. And maybe say it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Maybe say, we don't want you around if you're going to be a cunt.
Yeah.
And hateful. And that the games industry is diverse naturally. Not because anyone's making them be diverse. Because the world is diverse, you stupid motherfucker. And if you have a problem with that, come fight me. Physically. Bitch.
Has anyone taken you up on that yet?
No, because they're all pussies.
Yep.
Down here, salt is a way of life.
Obviously, the environment down here is all salt. The ceiling's salt, the floor is salt, the walls are salt, and to an extent, the air is salt. And you breathe that in, and you can constantly taste the salt.